Researchers are amazed at ancient Egypt's discovery. Ancient Egypt provided new insights into its past when a massive complex of tombs was discovered. The splendors of ancient Egypt were largely made known to the Western world by Sir William Matthew Flinders Petrie. Locals had been unearthing bits of their history for years, but it wasn't until the British Egyptologist started his work in the middle of the 1880s that Europe learned about the vanished civilization. Since then, a large number of archaeologists have rushed to Egypt to learn more about its past. They have discovered numerous artifacts and signs of the previous civilization there. Because of these ancient artifacts, Egypt is known as the land of the pyramids. However, Egypt's ancient constructions do not simply include pyramids. Scientists have carried on making alarming new discoveries. You have archaeologists and scientists found in Egypt that has them frightened and baffled. Before getting into the details of the shocking discovery, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and also enable the bell icon to get notified when a new video is posted. It might be difficult to think there is anything left to discover about ancient Egypt after more than 100 years of excavations, on top of millennia of looting and grave robbing. However, countless tombs and treasures are still being discovered. In 2020, a television crew documented archaeologists as they discovered a cache of statues and other artifacts. The tombs included precious valuables, many of which were thought to be 2,500 years old, which demonstrated that the people interred there were cut above the typical Egyptians of the time. One of the world's oldest civilizations is that of Egypt. Researchers are still examining the numerous monuments and records it has left behind today. As you'll soon realize, certain discoveries aren't just perplexing, they're terrifying. Archaeologists have made new discoveries, like the underground chamber in the Pyramid of Giza, which continues to baffle them. The Egyptian pyramids rank among the most magnificent structures ever created by humans. Their great size reveals the pharaoh's significance in pre-dynastic Egyptian culture. They were claimed to have been positioned halfway between the human and heavenly realms and to have been chosen by the gods themselves to act as their mediators. In fact, the pyramids were so closely associated with the kings that their angular smooth sides were said to represent the sun's beams and help the king's solar center in heaven enjoy the gods, particularly Ra, the sun deity. Can you determine the meaning of pyramids? Religious motivations led to the building of the pyramids. Egypt was one of the earliest civilizations to have this belief. They thought that every person had a second self called the Ka. The Ka continued to exist after the death of the physical body. The king's well-being was a worry for the populace. His body was mummified as a result, and everything he would need for the afterlife, including all the accoutrements of royalty such as gold cups, food, furniture, and other offerings, was buried with him. One of Egypt's most iconic buildings is the Giza Pyramid. King Khufu's tomb, which is one of Egypt's largest, is one of the country's early pharaohs and stands 140 meters high and 230 meters long. The three main chambers of the Giza Pyramid that are known to us are the King's Room, the Queen's Chamber, and the subterranean chamber that appears to be incomplete. In addition, the King's Chamber is reached by a spectacular 47-meter-long passageway. The internal structure of the pyramid was investigated by scientists. If there are any yet undiscovered chambers, caverns, holes, passages, or other features, they used a method called cosmic, and the results gave them more questions than they had answers to. A sizable vacuum with a diameter of 30 to 40 meters was discovered. The concealed compartment's purpose perplexed researchers. The Giza Pyramid is essentially devoid of the objects that people were typically buried with, which is one of the things that attracted researchers' attention. They appeared unable to penetrate the enormous gulf. Therefore, whatever it formerly contained must have been enigmatic. There are other things that researchers have found in ancient Egypt. The one after that is not for the faint of heart. Can we now go on to some gruesome facts? A 16-foot deep black granite tomb was found by scientists while building an apartment complex in the renowned Mediterranean port. The nearly 2,000-year-old burial chamber gained popularity online quite quickly. The villagers didn't start spreading the myth that the mummified Jews had magical or healing abilities until they experienced terrible images of 3 floating bones in the murky soup. Others were worried by its strange color, thinking it was proof of the presence of a metal similar to Marie. The enormous black granite tomb was broken open despite the fact that it was feared doing so many have unleashed an old curse. Others conjecture that it might have contained the remains of Alexander the Great, who founded the city, despite the fact that Dr. Mustaf's general secretary at the Supreme Council of Antiquities quickly scuttled it. The bones may have belonged to a priest according to Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities, but the finding of possible arrow damage to one of the skulls shows that the bones unmistakably come from a military man. Is it accurate to say that it suggested the supernatural? The response is regrettably no. Investigators found that the mysterious liquid wasn't red mercury or mummy ice, but rather something much less noteworthy and commonplace. The mummy juice was discovered to be sewage water. The skeletons were somewhat disintegrated inside. Sewage water from a nearby building entered the tomb through a small opening. What about the science that come with exposing long-dead remains, though? The legends might not have been true, or perhaps this particular coffin was curse-free. Because the person who put his hand in the casket first when it was opened seems to have been okay. You would think that wraps up the horrific disclosures from Egypt, but you'd be wrong. While working on the excavation of a palace in the historic Egyptian city of Avaris, archaeologists made a startling discovery. Researchers uncovered 16 human hand skeletons buried in 4 trenches. One hand was in each of 2 pits, one of which was in front of what is believed to be a throne room. 2 further holes that were eventually constructed outside the palace are where the 14 remaining hands are kept. More surprisingly, they're all right-handed. Left hands were not discovered. The finds were made in the Nile Delta northeast of Cairo and are considered to have been made 3,600 years ago when the Hyksos, a people group who are believed to have come from northern Canaan, controlled a portion of Egypt and had their capital at Avaris, which is today known as Tel El Daba. During the time the hands were buried, King Khayan, one of the Hyksos kings, was residing in the palace. These hands could represent the earliest tangible proof of an ancient Egyptian custom described in Texan art, wherein a soldier would trade a right hand that had been severed from an enemy in exchange for money. The Hyksos and the Egyptians were both trained in amputating an adversary's right hand. One such story is recorded on the tomb wall of Amos, son of Ibana, an Egyptian who fought the Hyksos. Part of the inscription, which was created about 80 years after the 16 hands were entered, reads, "During my hand-to-hand combat, I withdrew a hand. The royal herald received the information. The author was rewarded with the Gold of Valor for his efforts." Additionally, more than 50 wooden coffins from the New Kingdom, which dates about 3,000 years ago, were discovered inside 52 burial tunnels that were each about 30 to 40 feet deep. The team also found a papyrus that was 13 feet long and 3 feet broad that was written with the owner's name and chapter 17 on the Book of the Dead in hieroglyphic script. A guide on navigating the afterlife and arriving at the field of the Auru, or heaven, can be found in the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead. The location also led to a large number of wooden barrel masks, a shrine to the god Anubis, and Anubis sculptures. Games buried with the deceased to keep them entertained in the hereafter were also found at the site. Another game called Senet was found in the shafts. It's comparable to chess, except the victor enters the afterlife without danger. And that's all for this video. Let's know in the comment area below what you think about these incredible discoveries. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell icon to discover more incredible contents like this.